and welcome to Animal Park. I'm Kate Humble.
And I'm Ben Fogle, and we're at Heaven's Gate, a viewpoint 400 feet above Longleat House, Lord Bath's stately home behind us.
And this area was all landscaped by Capability Brown over 250 years ago. And Heaven's Gate actually refers to the gap between the beech trees here, giving this amazing view over Wiltshire and Somerset.
Well, we have lots of stories today from the house, the estate, and of course the safari park, including...
A deadly illness has struck on Meerkat Mountain.
You'd think there's nothing wrong with them 1 minute, next minute they don't eat their tea and they go downhill that fast.
The vet's been called to help Barley the camel. She's injured her jaw.
She's got a horrible sort of droopy paralysis there.
And it's a dangerous time in lion country. There are 2 big males and only 1 enclosure.
If they ever met, they would fight.
Really?
They would fight to the death.
You know what I feel like doing to you right now? I feel like squeezing you and teasing you and...
When he arrived in Meerkat Mountain a few weeks ago, Basil was a big hit with all the girls. At last, Longleat's 5 females had a man about the house.
Baby, you know what? I feel love coming on.
The keepers had even begun to look forward to the patter of tiny meerkat feet. But now, tragedy has struck. Head of Pets Corner, Darren Beasley, has a crisis on his hands.
Just recently, I'm afraid, sadly, we've lost 2 meerkats. 2 meerkats have passed away quite suddenly. Literally, they've both sort of gone off their food at separate times, and within 48 hours, they've passed away. Same with any animal illness. Obviously, our job is to watch and monitor the animals and check their day-to-day health and stuff. And if you see problems, you know, if you see someone losing a bit of fur or limping or something, you can deal with it. But if it's a really, really quick illness, it's sort of doubly worrying because you don't know where it's come from.
The 2 that died were both young females and previously healthy. Their death is a mystery, so Darren is now keeping a close eye on the others.
They're still performing all their natural behaviours. You know, we've had one digger almost a 2.5-foot hole out there the last couple of days, you know, looking for bugs and things. So really, you'd think there's nothing wrong with them 1 minute, next minute they don't eat their tea and they go downhill that fast. So it's something that's concerning the vets, and obviously it's concerning us, and we're hopefully going to get to the bottom of it. But we're just going to have to cross our fingers and toes that nothing else happens, nothing else goes wrong at the moment.
Post-mortems were done to find out what killed the 2 meerkats, but nothing obvious came to light. So samples were taken and sent on to a specialist lab for testing. It'll be several days before the results come back, but in the meantime, Darren is still trying to figure it out.
We've been racking our brains what's changed down the meerkats because they've been so healthy for so long. And really, to be honest, we have introduced a few different plants in the enclosure, which they generally dig in the roots and wreck and stuff, and some logs. But the main thing we've done is, on top of the Meerkat Mountain, we've added some more soil from a source on Longleat, of course, and we've netted it all down so it can root away. And, you know, that's the only thing I can think that we've changed in about a year in here, really. So I hope to goodness it's not anything in the soil, but from what the guys have been saying, the meerkats have been leaving the soil alone because it's all netted. But when the results come back, we're going to have to go through, and if it's toxicology, if it's a poison or something like that, we're going to have to go through every single plant, every log, every coat of paint that we've ever done and try and see what the culprit is. But I say, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Whatever killed the 2 meerkats could strike again at any time. We'll be back later to find out if Basil and the last 3 girls survive.
It's been 2 weeks since Kabir, the Barbary lion, arrived at Longleat to start a brand new pride. Since then, he's been confined inside the lion house with his 2 females. Meanwhile, old Mafui has been kept outside with his pride. Now it's time to swap them round.
We've come up to the lion house and it's a big day for the new male Kabir.
Kabir's already been mixed with his two female companions, Luna and Yendi. But Kate and I have come up to catch up with keeper Bob Trollope because he's about to be let out. Is that right, Bob?
Very, very shortly. What we're doing now at the moment is getting the other pride in, Mafui's pride in.
Right.
So that we can have a nice empty section for Kabir and the two girls to go out.
Why can't you just let them out with Mafui and his females?
Males being males, they will fight. We've established two prides. If they ever met, they would fight.
Really?
And they would fight to the death. As you can see,
We've got the
Diana
females
and the female.
coming in. Brian is out there.
Brian is out pushing the lions down
Yeah.
into the compound. What they're going to be doing is coming into the transit tunnel that we've got behind this house.
So they'll never actually meet or see each other?
They will know they're there, they'll hear them, but they
Yeah.
will never actually see them.
Now, I'm assuming that in the wild, two prides would never really get even this close, even though they're not going to be seeing each other.
Very rarely they come into conflict with each other. You may have a new male taking over a pride, but he will find his way around the territory and find a weakness and then go in when he thinks it's ready.
And do you have any idea how he's going to react? I mean, do you think he might just bolt straight out, or is he going to be quite wary and nervous?
I should imagine what would happen is the girls will bolt out because they're used to it. They know where they're going. Kabir may be slightly tentative about going out.
Presumably he'll pick up Mafui's scent. Will that put him off, make him more dominant?
It'd be interesting to see what does happen. You know, he's going to be very wary. He's going to have to be very careful. Obviously, he's going into a very strange territory. He doesn't know what's out there. So I should imagine he will be very cautious to start with.
And on the other hand, you don't know how he's going to react with your
This is
visitors,
very-
with
No,
yourself,
it's very true.
with us observing.
All we know about him is he lived in an enclosure with his pride. They never used to go in with vehicles, so this is going to be a new thing to him.
You do look, if I may say so, Bob, a little bit nervous today. I mean,
Not
it's
so
a big
much
thing.
nervous, but the thing is, you know, you've got to be careful. We've got a whole crew around here. Everyone's safety has got to be, utmost, in my point of view,
Yeah.
is more important than actually getting him out. So
Right.
everything's got to be done properly.
Right. So they're still loitering around
They're
there.
still loitering.
Can we wander down and see? Will
Yeah,
that
if we
put them
wander
off?
out carefully.
So remind us how many lions there are in Mafui's pride?
We've got Mafui and 3 females.
Yeah.
So we've got the 3 females there, but no sign of Mafui yet.
No, Mafui is playing... He's been a bit obstinate.
I think he knows there's another male on the block.
You have a tree? But according to Brian, he's gone up a tree, so...
See.
So it might not be a quick job, you know.
OK, well, Bob, if you're happy for us to stick around, and we'll obviously keep you posted, we'll try and get Mafui in and Kabir out. But who knows, with big cats, you can never tell what's going to happen, Bob. Thank you very much.
Each morning, keepers Stuart Cluley and Luke Magruder are the first to arrive at Meerkat Mountain. Twice in the last few days, they've come in to find that one of the meerkats has died in the night.
Unfortunately, with the meerkats, when they start not eating, and they really go downhill fast, and all of a sudden you come in the morning, like yesterday we came in, they're all fine, today we could go in and one of them could be ill. You don't really know what you're going to find when you go in there.
Good news, brilliant news, in fact. They all seem absolutely fine. The ones that got ill before, we came in the morning, they were very, very lethargic. These are all running around very active this morning, which can only be good news. They seem fine, they just all want to get out.
But the 2 that died also seemed fine, until very near the end. So Head of Pets Corner Darren Beasley and vet Duncan Williams are checking them regularly. It was Duncan who did the post-mortems, but he couldn't find any obvious cause of death. So he took a number of samples and dispatched them to a specialist lab for further analysis.
I sent off a little bit of intestine, a little bit of a kidney, a little bit of liver, spleen, the heart, a bit of lung, and the histologist will, they get fixed, I mean, they get really finely sliced and stained and looked under a microscope so they can see if there's any, what's going on, what problems are going on. They can see inflammatory cells and such like, and hopefully they'll be able to give us an idea of what's caused it.
In the meantime, Duncan has prescribed medicines for the survivors, just in case.
We're treating all these with antibiotics in case it is a bacteremia. So we are doing something.
It's a real worry every day when animals rely on you for their food and their life and their welfare. They become like part of your big family, And the last thing you want to see is a member of your family ill or poorly, and they must have noticed where's one gone and then where's another one gone. They don't seem to be too bothered at the moment, but it's a worry every morning when we come in to see who's eating their tea and who's not, and who's poorly.
Will more of them die before they get the results of the post-mortem tests? We'll be back with the meerkat later to find out.
Kabir, the new male lion, has never been outside in the big enclosure. Now the keepers are trying to get their resident male, old Mafui, in so that Kabir can go out. It's a tricky operation because if the males ever meet, they'd fight to the death. We're still at the lion enclosure, and Mafui, the male lion, is being moved into this enclosure. He's coming really fast. Hopefully, we can get him in and the females in. And
this hasn't gone quite according to plan so far. He hasn't really wanted to go in, has he?
No, the females are fine. They're all used to coming in, but he's taken a dislike to us at the moment, and he went up a tree. We finally got him into the compound, and this is where now we've got to be a little bit careful because he's, you know, he's quite hyped up. You obviously know there's another male in here anyway, so he might be a little bit agitated by that fact.
Now, is this the point where Kabir might pick up that the other male is
you say that Kabir is pacing up and down and was having a good kind of look and a sniff at the air.
So this is most probably the first time he's actually seen him.
Right.
Well. I'm pretty sure that Mafui would know there's a younger male. Maybe the
so he would see him kind of as a threat.
As a threat, yeah. He's very cautious normally. He wouldn't be too bothered about it.
He comes straight in.
This is going to be another dodgy bit. We're going to have to get Brian into the compound and push him in.
Okay. Not on foot, presumably.
No. We leave that to presenters.
Kate, I'll leave that to you.
And they're going to let him in through the big gate. When they do come in, they run up here.
Yeah.
And I might have to ask for your help to sort of keep him there while I run round and shut the door or whatever.
Gosh, it's quite tense, isn't it? It's sort of, you can feel the...
It's really exciting, though,
isn't it? It is really exciting. Presumably, they're never going to be able to go out into the enclosure together. So are you going to have to do this on a sort of rota basis?
We could possibly even mix the females with Kabir at some stage. Obviously, the males will never, ever meet.
Racing up.
So here they are, yeah. Come on, mate. Come on, darling. Come on. Good. If you could stay there, and I'll just wander over here a minute. Come on, mate. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Right, we're in.
Right. That's that bit done. They're actually secure in the tunnel now.
Right. Okay. And so they're just behind this wall now?
All Craig's going to do is separate them into little individual pens.
I can hear a gentle kind of grumble going on.
You can tell he knows something's going on. You can hear those other lions in the tunnel because they're only a matter of a few inches away from him.
Yeah.
He can hear them. You can tell he can hear them. He's a little bit wary, to say the least.
Well, while Craig finishes off getting Mafui's pride sorted out in the tunnel behind here, and as you can see, Kabir is getting a little bit restless. It's soon his turn to get his taste of freedom. Join us when he's let out for the first time. Longleat has always attracted a lot of media attention. As a result, there's now a substantial archive of old footage. We've been digging through the film vaults, and over the next few programmes, we'll be presenting some of this rich history preserved on celluloid. We're starting off today with a story that scandalised the upper classes and sent a shiver down the spine of every aristocrat in the country. Let's go back to just after the Second World War, when the stately homes of England were another world.
The stately homes of England, how beautiful they stand, to prove the upper classes have still the upper hand, though the fact that they have to be rebuilt and frequently mortgaged to the hilt is inclined to take the gilt off the gingerbread and certainly damps the fun.
In 1949, Lord Bath's father, the 6th Marquis, found himself facing the loss of his 16th century ancestral home and all its priceless treasures. Running costs had spiralled to £500,000 a year, and an inheritance tax bill of £18 million had crippled the family's finances. The current Lord Bath remembers the crisis well.
When my grandfather died in 1946, there was a very large death duties bill to pay, and so one knew that just to pay it we'd have to sell off lots of the acreage on the estate. But then it was the question of the house itself. It eats money. My father's first idea was to have it like a place like Chequers, to let the cabinet have use of it, and we live in the top floor. Well, I'm very glad he didn't go ahead with that line, because one would never have really been the master in one's own home.
Instead, the 6th Marquis made the bold decision to open his house to the paying public, the first ever stately home to do so. It was a move that caused outrage amongst his aristocratic peers. More than 50 years later, the head guide, Claire Mound, recalls their indignation.
Certainly the 6th Marquis was considered to have let the side down by opening his house to the public. People paid, went into business. It really was not considered a good thing at all.
The doors opened for the very first time on the 1st of April 1949, and the admission charge was 2 shillings and sixpence, just under £3 in today's money. The present Lord Bath was only 17, but he remembers that the whole future of the estate and his inheritance was in the balance.
Well, we were nervous at the start in case people don't really come in significant numbers to pay for a ticket. But that was quickly proven wrong. There were great queues of cars which went really right back through the park, out of the drive. The charabancs would be circling around and dropping people off and going away there and then coming back to fetch them. My mother and my sister were given guide jobs, and he said the boys are in the car park. My father wanted us to be seen doing our bit, all contributing to this new enterprise. This was the bit of the car park which got the very special attention of me watching over to see everything was safe. I don't remember us being paid, but we were allowed to keep all tips. The press were paying quite a lot of interest in this, and they came down and watched me opening doors. So there was a certain amount of amusement and buying the newspapers that covered it all. My father had a very spontaneous reaction with the tourists. Although basically a shy man, he just loved having this performance that was required of him, expected of him, and which he naturally did very well.
The Marquis's gamble paid off. In the first year, 135,000 visitors came through the doors, raising nearly £400,000 in today's terms.
He was just very proud of doing something in a way that would keep the house in good nick while all the repairs could suddenly be done, paid for by the enterprise. And he was enormously pleased that he'd guessed rightly and that it was had an enormous appeal to the public.
Opening to the public may have saved the family from financial ruin, but it also meant that the old world order of class and privilege would never be the same again. Later on, we'll meet Edna Morris, who remembers those old days of upstairs, downstairs. She used to be a cleaner here, and this is the first time she's entered these doors in over 50 years.
Up in the big game park, Barley the Bactrian Camel has injured her mouth. The keeper in charge, Tim Yo, hasn't been able to get a close look at it yet, but he knows how she did it.
These Bactrian camels do seem to enjoy eating rotten wood quite quite what they're extracting from it, I don't know, but they certainly enjoy it. She's been putting her head right in and taking the pulp, and then she's decided, this is nice, you know, I'll lay down and do this. Then when she decided to get up, she had her head in there and she's lifted up and the head's got stuck and whoops, you know, we're stuck. And in a camel's eyes, when you get stuck, you just keep pulling.
Having finished with the meerkats, Duncan Williams the vet has come up to take a look at Barley.
Hey girls. That's pretty severe, isn't it? You managed to feel it at all?
No, I haven't, no.
Is she eating anything at all, or?
Yeah, she's eating, yes.
So she's not broken a jaw or anything, then?
No, she's eating.
Yeah. When did it happen, Tim?
2 days ago.
A broken jaw would be very serious, but it looks like Barley has been pretty lucky.
What she's done is deadened all the nerves, and she's got a horrible droopy paralysis there. And she's moving her jaw well, she's grinding her teeth just like she always would have done. This will heal itself, but it's going to take several weeks, even months maybe. It's just not going to win any prizes in beauty stakes, and she's going to have this horrible drool. Long term, I think she'll be absolutely fine.
And for now, there's nothing else that Duncan can do. We'll return to check on Barley and the other Bactrians later on.
Back up in lion country, the keepers have a tricky situation to handle. The arrival of new boy Kabir means that 2 prides will be sharing one enclosure. Old Mafui and his females have been brought in to the connecting pen at the back of the house, so now the coast is clear for the next stage of the operation.
Kate and I are up in the lion enclosure with keeper Bob Trollope, and we're with Longleat's newest lion, Kabir, and it's a very exciting day because he is about to have his first taste of freedom out in the enclosure. Bob, over to you.
Right, well, we'll just let him out then, hopefully. Come on, mate.
Now, he's been pacing up and down. Are you expecting him to be... Well, look, he's going straight through already.
He's going straight through, but we haven't opened the end one yet.
Right.
So.
Right.
Come on,
He's
mate.
being remarkably calm, given that Mafui and his females are just over the other side of that wall.
Yeah, he is a little bit.
Yeah.
It's obviously. Well, we'll see how he reacts when we pull this slide open. Come on, mate. Good boy. Good boy.
Wow, straight out.
Boy.
Now, we've got Craig down at the end there waiting with the last...
Go on then, Craig. Oh, he's out.
He's out.
Right. I'll let the gills out as well so that he knows. Oh,
there he goes off the gallop. Look at that!
Him go.
That's fantastic.
It must be such a relief to get out in the open.
Yeah. Kabir's certainly wasting no time. He's off to explore the 5-acre enclosure. The only way to keep up with him now is to jump in the vehicle.
You see him over by the fence. His main priority is to make sure that it's safe for him. You can smell the other lions.
The females are conspicuously absent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're right over there on the other side.
But they are both out, aren't they?
They've been in for a couple of weeks.
So they're actually all thinking, whew, got rid of him for a bit. Now, will he be scenting areas as well?
He will start covering Mafui's urine. He will spray over that, laying his own scent down, spraying over the female scent and telling everyone that is around that he's the new boy in town.
It looks like he's very much pacing the perimeter fence.
This is the boundary of Mafui's territory, and he's actually just following that.
Following scent as opposed to just the
following
fence.
Scent and a track, you know, there's a well-worn path way around there.
Yeah.
He'll be following that. And it's just generally, I hope we don't touch that because that's electrified. So.
There's other vehicles here.
Oh, there we go, he's gone through a fence.
Now, what's...
So what's on the other side of that fence, Bob?
No, that is like a no man's area.
Right. So it's a double. So it's not. He's not out as such.
He's not out as such. No, he's still within, our section.
Now you can see the wolves on the other side. He seems to be ignoring those. He didn't seem at all bothered by the fact that it was an electric fence either.
You know, I actually touched that, and you get quite a welt from it. He wasn't too phased, I must admit.
No.
So you have a bit of a puzzle ahead of you, Bob, to try and get him out of there.
Well, we can get him out. It just means that one of us has got to get out and open the gates for him. Well, hopefully not me. But
What do you think, Brian?
Straight through.
Went straight under the strands of the fence. Didn't seem to notice the electricity at all.
I'll go in and push him out if you want. Right, this could be a bit of excitement.
I can hop into the...
close the window?
Yeah. Obviously, this is a dangerous moment because we don't know what it's like with people And obviously, we don't know what he's like with vehicles.
He doesn't seem too concerned with them at the moment.
No, but then he hasn't been moved by one of them yet.
No.
Okie dokie. What we're actually going to do now is send someone up to the Wolf House and turn the electric off.
And I suppose this is a classic example of when you have a new animal here, you just don't know what it's going to do or how it's going to react.
You don't know. You know, obviously, wherever he's been before, he hasn't had a fence like that. Probably had chain link fencing. It's a big step for him. And now he's going up to the fence again now, whether he's going to go through it. Because he knows those two females are there.
Yeah.
Obviously,
looks
not
like
the.
he is going through.
Oh, he felt it then. So he definitely knows that the electric fence is...
Right. This is Stuart coming up to turn off the
Stuart
electricity.
rushing into the house to turn the electric supply off.
And do you want me to hop into the driver's seat so that I can
No,
drive us away? Or
I would actually like a spare seat to jump in.
You said yes. Fair enough.
Sorry? Yeah, I'm just a bit to get out. Also, can you keep an eye on the ones behind us?
Yes,
There's two more.
will.
Yeah. Tense moment here as they try
Whoa.
get Kabir back out of the section. The females, luckily, are sitting very calmly and, I have to say, rather disdainfully, it looks like, from here, with their noses in the air.
I think he's going to go. Oh, my word.
We've got the fences open now.
Yeah.
Is he starting to panic a little bit?
He's panicking. You've got the wolves going at him, which he's probably never, ever seen anything like that before in his life. This is potentially a dangerous time because we don't know what's going to happen there.
Right.
Okay.
But we're going to try and drive him down towards that.
Yeah, what we don't want him to do is obviously go for the vehicle.
Yeah.
Now,
hopefully, if he goes through that fence again, it's turned off, so he'll...
There we go,
Hurrah.
he's through, hooray.
Brilliant.
Good job, Bob.
That's a learning curve for us all, I think.
Oh, this is in our mouth. Well, I think maybe...
He's actually broke it. He's broke the fence.
So you've got a big, strong man in your charge, Bob.
Yes.
He's now by the fence looking actually much calmer.
And hopefully he's learnt that electric isn't a nice thing now and won't go through there again. I just got to get out quickly and just give Brian a guard.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Bob. Clearly, Kabir is going to be one to watch, and you can count on us to keep you posted of all developments later in the series.
The recent death of 2 meerkats may have cast a pall over Pets Corner, but the keepers still have other things to think about. Right now, they're expecting the arrival of a pair of newcomers, so Darren Beasley and Bev Allen are busy with preparations. And after all, they've been looking forward to this for some time.
We're here to set the new Wallaby House up for our Palmer Wallabies, which we're getting tomorrow. We're getting a male and a female, so we're going to live in here together. So we've just got to try and get it nice and comfy for them. This is where they'll go if it gets too wet for them, too cold for them. They'll come in here and sleep in here, but I expect they'll probably spend a lot of time outside hopping around.
Longleat already has some wallabies, in fact over 50 of them, living out in the open up in Wallaby Wood. But these are the much larger and hardier Bennett's wallabies, also called the red-necked wallaby. The new ones are the Palmer subspecies, and even though they're much smaller, they can still really jump. Darren and Bev are checking the enclosure.
You've got to make sure the pen is all nice and secure, which we're doing now, make sure they can't hop out as such. And we've got the house ready, which is brilliant. We'll get some food ready for them, a water dish, all the simple things really, and just make sure they've got all their needs that they'll have for tomorrow.
They originally come from New South Wales and Australia, is where the breed came from. But up until 1965, they thought they were extinct. And then they found 2 little populations, and these are the zoo-bred remnants of these. Bev's over the moon. She's a wallaby fanatic. We've got rednecks, we've got Bennetts here up in the safari park, and Bev's hand-reared a couple of those for various reasons. So this is really exciting for Bev, really exciting for us in Pets Corner because it's a new species. This is all going to be very new. We've got lots of things we can get used to. So settling them in, first 48 hours, first week, it's going to be crucial we monitor them very closely.
We'll be back in Pets Corner later to see what happens when the new wallabies arrive.
Longleat House really is awfully large. There are well over 100 rooms and more than a mile of corridors. So day-to-day maintenance is a big job, and an ordinary household task can be a major undertaking.
Longleat House has literally thousands of light fittings, all of which need their bulbs changed regularly. Just one of the jobs that falls to house steward Ken Windus. Morning, Ken. How are you up there?
Good morning, Ben. Not so bad.
Is this bulb changing duty today?
It is, I'm afraid.
I assume this is a sort of never-ending task in a house of this size.
It certainly is. Yeah, there's well over 1,000 bulbs throughout the house totally. There's 25 in this chandelier alone.
And presumably this chandelier would have originally taken candles rather than the modern light bulb.
Yeah, obviously before the advent of electricity, they had to have some form of light, and candles was the way. And of course that had to be snuffed out every morning and lit every night.
That would be quite a task.
That's right.
At least it's probably not quite as often as that the bulbs on this chandelier need to be changed.
There's at least probably one a week goes on, with the amount of lamps that we've got here. I would say one a week would go on here, no trouble.
Okay, shall I put the light on
yes,
to
please,
see if we're happy with that, if all the bulbs are... What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, well, while we move on to the next chandelier, here's what's still to come on today's programme.
We'll find out what killed the 2 meerkats and if all the others are still in danger.
Rare footage of Lord Bath as a young man, from the heyday of free love.
And is Rosie the otter pining for the late Johnny, or just missing her share of his dinner?
If she was really pining, she wouldn't be eating.
She'd go off her food.
No, comfort eating.
You see, I'm on that with chocolate bars, yeah?
But now, up in the big game park, it's been a week since vet Duncan Williams first saw Barley the Bactrian Camel's droopy lip. Now he's back, along with Tim Yo, to check on it.
See, that's improved since last week, isn't it? All right, honey.
It is, isn't it?
It's a lot better. You see that? Just 7 days since we last saw it, I think that's a lot better. I know it's still drooling and whatever, but it was much more droopy last time, I think.
While Barley seems to be slowly getting better, a couple of the other camels suffer an ailment from which they're never likely to recover: arthritis. Raisha has it the worst. She's 15 years old, and for a Bactrian camel, that's rather elderly.
She's very stiff on the hind leg or legs. She's also got a stiffness on the front leg, so it's making her mobility extremely poor.
Come on, welcome. Hey. Well, she took a few steps just now and she was very, very lame. When I push her like that, they would normally move on a bit. Just really old arthritic joints, like Tim was saying, and that's the problem. She's just in pain. We supplement in the diet with a powder that helps the fluid and makes the joints sort of more comfortable. And also we're giving her painkillers. We've been giving her painkillers now for about a week. It's a disease of old age, really, isn't it? And we really need to try and make her as comfortable as possible and make sure she's not suffering, that's for sure, yeah.
Bactrian camels come from Mongolia and Central Asia, where the climate is far more extreme than Wiltshire. These animals have evolved to cope with both great heat and bitter cold. Despite that, arthritis is often weather sensitive.
This stiffness in the joints it's horrible because, there's so little that we can do for it, isn't it? I really do hope that we get the warmer weather coming and just hope that it eases things for her and makes her feel a lot better.
So for now, there's little more that can be done for either Raisha or Barley. We'll find out later if time and fine weather can ease their suffering.
They've had a hard time recently in Pets Corner. Apart from the crisis with the meerkats, it hasn't been too long since Johnny, their much-loved otter, died. He was getting on in years and passed away as the result of a massive bladder stone that led to a kidney infection. So now his partner Rosie is all alone. She's been acting strangely, and that's caused a disagreement between Darren Beasley and Bev Allen. All in all, it's been a very emotional time.
Bev, you must be distraught because I know you love both of them very much. And how is Rosie coping?
You can tell she's missing Johnny
Yeah.
quite a lot. They used to play together and they used to curl up together when they're in bed. So I think she does miss him.
And how has she reacted? How can you tell?
She's making a lot of noise. She's very vocal. They're quite vocal anyway, but she seems to be more vocal than what she usually was.
Yeah.
And she's coming out a lot more. She don't seem to spend a lot of time inside because she's got no one to cuddle up with and that.
Now, Darren, you're looking sceptical here.
Can I put the other side of the argument here?
Yes.
Bev and I agree on nearly everything in life. We are a good team here, but the keepers are divided decided on this.
Yeah.
Bev has her little team.
Yeah.
Emotional females. You lot are all the same.
Mm.
I'm a bit more hard-hearted. I tend to think the reason she's crying an awful lot lately, she's not missing him like that. She just knows there used to be 2 sets of food going in and now there's only 1 set of food.
So you're saying that she used to nick Johnny's food and now she's only getting Rosie's portion. She's just crying because she's not getting enough to eat.
It's like the family for 2 takeaway that arrives. You know, you always eat that bit more that you shouldn't, either one of you. And I think she's the same. She's looking for food constantly. They did interact. Bev's quite right. You know, they did do this little squeak into each other. Oh, Bev's just being soppy.
Bev, I mean, they do mate for life, don't they?
Oh, they do, and they are quite social anyway.
Yeah.
And the male and female, they get on really well. You know, they spend a lot of time together, looking for food and that. So, yeah, I think she still misses Johnny.
I have to say, I think I'm on Bev's side here
I thought
because
you might be.
presumably there must be something if you've interacted with something for as long as they were together. I mean, they were together for years. She must be missing him.
I think she's missing the fact that he's not there, that's correct, but the emotion isn't there in these animals. I think what's probably happened in the wild is if she lost her mate, another one would move in. I mean, I can prove, little test here.
OK.
The magic egg test.
Right.
OK. I'll prove that she's more interested in eggs than pining and whining. If we call her over, Bev.
So you're saying that if she was really pining, she wouldn't be eating?
She'd go off her food.
No, comfort eating.
Yeah, you see, I'm on that with chocolate bars.
I'm
yes.
not going to win this. Chuck your egg in, honey. Yeah. And I'll give her an egg, and you'll see straight away. Rosie, want another one? Really, to be honest, she's not off her food. She would eat. If we still put Johnny's food in, she'd eat that as well. But the good news is we are expecting another male otter very soon. So
great.
We're going to try and mix a new husband to be in with her.
That presumably will be a fairly long process, will it, bringing in a new beau?
Well, I mean, Bev, will tell you, I mean, when we mix these two...
Rosie, that's not very elegant.
Watch your face. When we mixed these two last time, it was so perfect.
Lovely. Sort of like hugged each other. It was nice.
So I think on that respect, the new male really, we will have the system in preparation that we can mix them slowly.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully it should be no
It'll
problem
go
at all.
straight in.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed. Please don't fight, you two. And of course, we will keep you updated with Rosie's progress. But I have to say, she is loving those eggs.
Before the big house was opened to the public in 1949, Longleat was a different world. It took an army of staff to keep the place running in an aristocratic manner. In the house alone, there were 40 domestic servants below stairs. Someone who remembers the old days is Edna Morris, now 82 years old. She came here as a cleaner in 1939, and this is the first time she's returned in over 50 years.
It's lovely. Really lovely. I haven't seen it for a long, long time. And I can remember cleaning the stairs, and it's nice to be back again and see it. Brings back a lot of memories.
Edna had a job at the Royal Bath School when the Second World War began in 1939. But the Admiralty requisitioned their buildings, so Lord Bath offered to have the school here instead.
We had never seen anything like it because we were at the school at Bath, and this was wonderful. There was no lion reserve then, and we had the run of the house, all of it.
Today, Edna's meeting June Windus, the present head cleaner.
Hello, I'm pleased to meet you. I'm June.
When the Royal School was here, they used the Great Hall as an assembly room, and the saloon was turned into a dormitory.
This is the lovely long room.
This is the one with the marble fireplace.
Yes, that's the marble fire. Yes, we couldn't get over that because it was so big.
Yes.
And then we had all beds all the way down. Beds like they used to have in hospitals, little iron beds, you know?
Yeah.
All the way down, just like a ward in a hospital.
Someone else who remembers those times is Stan Dole. He was a forester on the estate.
Myself, I prefer it as it used to be. You know, you knew where everything was and you knew who everyone was. Longleat was everything to everyone then. And you always looked up upon them, you know, in a different class. It was funny because when they would have shooting days, the beaters, you know, beaters, they would be all ready to go, and Lord Bath would come in and he'd walk up this road and you'd see them all the way along, good morning, my lord, good morning, my lord, and all that. But he was a lovely man, and you were expected to do that, you see.
For Stan and Edna, the war changed everything, in a rather surprising way. Because when the group from the Royal School arrived, some of the forestry workers were drafted in to help them unload. The couple first met right here.
What do you think about it then?
Well, it's very nice.
You do with a bit of polish on the door, couldn't you?
Should I say things like that? The first week of the war,
When we met?
When
here,
we met?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first week of the war.
Yes.
And when you were all gathered here on the steps.
That's right.
Sat on the steps.
Mm-hmm.
We got on well right from the start, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we got married in Wales.
You got married in Wales.
Where Edna's home
And
was,
then
of course.
Then we come back up and lived in this cottage in Enclosure. And we've been there ever since, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been there ever since.
And we've been ever since.
In the same cottage?
In the same cottage.
62 years.
And that's 62 years.
In all those years, Longleat has seen countless changes and many pioneering ideas. But few so radical as when the current Lord Bath returned from art school back in the swinging 60s. Later on, we'll find out why everyone was so shocked.
60 miles from Longleat, keeper Bev Allen is just arriving at Marwell Zoological Park in Hampshire. She's come to collect a pair of Palmer Wallabies and take them back to Pet's Corner. Bev's contact here is Sarah Boxall.
Yeah, come to pick up these Palmers. Yeah, the two Palmers.
Palmer Wallabies are quite small. They don't grow much more than about 18 inches tall, but they're surprisingly strong and not exactly defenceless.
You grab them at the base of the tail. They have got a wonderful habit of actually just spinning round in circles, and they do actually bite quite nicely. Just make sure that door stays. So, okay, you go.
This may look rough, but holding the wallaby by the base of the tail is the safest way to handle the animal. Their tails are thick and very muscular.
So, it's the difficult one. He's a bit more older and wiser. He knows.
The Palmer's powerful hind legs make them a bit of a handful.
Right then, just drop him in, that's it. They're quite active to begin with. I'm sure they're going to be great. It's just a bit stressful for us to come in there and grab them, but yeah, they look really good. I can't wait to get them back and get them settled. I think that's the main thing now, get them settled into their new enclosure.
Less than 2 hours later, Bev's back at Longleat.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this for a long time. Quite exciting. I can't even see yet. I was going to have a little picture at the end. Oh, hello. Goodness, they are small, aren't they? They are small. What we're going to do then is we'll put them in here tonight. We'll let them settle down, have some feed and a drink and stuff. Tomorrow, Bev can let them out and then judge the mood.
Comes.
She's in.
That's easy.
They've got to find their boundaries now. They're going to be very scared because of the noise and the sights and the smells. This is an enclosed box, so they probably climb the walls just a little bit for the next few minutes, just get the smells. Oh, there we are. Hello.
Now the best thing is just to leave the pair in peace.
We have been talking about having Palmer Wallabies in there for a while, so now we've got them here. I'm just really pleased. I'm over the moon.
We'll be back in Pet's Corner later in the series to find out how the new Wallabies get on.
I'm out with the Pygmy Goats and keeper Ryan Hockley, and, well, it looks like we're sort of camouflaging ourselves. We're trying to hide from the goats with this lot.
No, what we're doing here today, this is a bit of environment enrichment, really,
right.
Kate. I'll show you what we're going to do with the browse here. We're going to put it up on the climbing frame.
OK.
And obviously Papa Dom here is showing us the way.
So, do you want me to follow you up?
If... whatever you prefer, really, Kate. If you want to come up, come up. But if you want to stay on ground level, you could just pass.
Shall I pass you stuff up? So, what's the plan with this? Are you kind of giving them kind of pretend trees, as it were?
Yeah, well, like I say, it's all about environment enrichment, really, Kate. It's springtime here now, so as you can see, leaves have started coming out on the trees. This is the first day we've done it today, but we'll be doing it every day from now on, right through the spring, through the summer.
And is it partly a sort of exercise thing? I mean, obviously they're loving this climbing frame. I didn't realise they were such good climbers, because it gets quite high. I mean, we're looking at just over 6 feet probably up there, and they don't have any problem with that, even though they're little.
So we've actually seen them jump straight off the top and onto the ground and just break into a run straight away. If you have a look at their feet, they're quite adept, really, at dealing with extreme surfaces. These guys could probably make it up the side of a mountain if they thought there was a meal at the end of it for them, yeah.
They are famously greedy, aren't they, goats? I mean, is it true that they will eat almost anything?
They will certainly have a nibble at just about anything. Whether they continue and actually eat something that's not very palatable is sort of up for discussion, really, but they'll certainly take a bite out of anything.
We used to go on school trips to a farm, and the goats always used to steal our little question sheets at the end of the day. It was a perfect excuse for the teacher, go take them. What sort of tree is this?
This is beech that we've got here, Kate, and these are very young, tender leaves, a lot of goodness in them. All the new saps come back to the branches, so it's really good. Other than the browse, we don't have to supplement their diet too much throughout the spring and summer. They just basically graze the grass here in the paddock.
And this is obviously very popular with them. They're loving it, aren't they?
They do. They when you turn up with the browse, they see you coming from a mile off, you know, and they're all at the gate and all sort of...
I'm being mobbed here. I think I'm going to have to get the rest of this stuff up as quickly as possible before I get attacked by a goat. Ryan, thank you very much. Come on, then. Come on.
I'm out in the park with head of section Tim Yo, and we've come to catch up with the camels. We're being swamped.
We are, Ben, being swamped by camels. You introduced a bit of food and they're here, aren't they?
They really are. Now, I know these are the Bactrian camels, and two of them were a little bit lame. Which ones were they?
We had one, in actual fact, Raisha, who's right here, this white camel here, and she's had some arthritic problems. We've noticed it particularly in one of her hind legs. Right. Her mobility is slightly different, or her walk is different. She doesn't stride properly, confidently. She tends to take a stride and then a pause and then a stride. You can see that there's something amiss there. So she's actually being given some medication in feed. It's given inside a banana on a daily basis to try and help her with that.
And I'm assuming that the sort of cold, English, damp climate that we tend to have can't help with arthritis.
I think that's fair to say, that really it does aggravate it, really. And certainly the hope is that as the weather changes and the warmer days come, we'll see a bit of an ease in her arthritic problems.
I have to make a comment about her coat. She's looking a bit bedraggled, and it almost looks like bits are coming out.
They're molting now, so what you can see is the old winter jacket coming away.
And eventually, will they kind of lose the majority of their hair?
All this jacket will come away, and leaving a nice new jacket underneath. I mean, they look pretty bald to start with, but they'll soon get a nice thick hair coming.
And was there another one that was also
That's
suffering?
right, this is Barley.
Right.
What happened was that she had a bit of paralysis, and you can just see on this side on her left side,
you can just
the
see
lower,
it
was actually worse than that. It was hanging down, but it's going back into position, and it's improving all the time.
Well, they're all looking very healthy, I have to say, and very hungry. I think we're going to have to move on before we're mobbed once they've finished those last little pellets.
Certainly.
Tim, thank you very much. Glad to see you're all well, guys.
Over the course of its 450-year history, the walls of Longleat House have been adorned with paintings of every size and style. Lord Bath himself went to art school in Paris in the late 1950s. He returned full of shocking creative zeal and was determined to make his own mark on the walls of Longleat.
The first mural I painted was 1964. And then it's really been a matter of ticking off the rooms gradually over on that side of the house. The comments which reached me of somebody writing to me and things were all nicely flattering, but there was a certain amount of, can't you do your paintings on just on boards and leave the walls of Longleat untouched. I mean, that feeling was also there. But, no, on the whole, those who bothered to make a comment, it was encouraging.
In 1969, he married Anna Gale, an actress he had met in Paris when he was still a student.
I was getting rather old, so at the age of 37, I thought I'd really better settle this thing of getting a son and heir.
Nowadays, Lady Bath commutes between France and Longleat, but she remembers what it was like when she first came to live here.
Well, funnily enough, my husband, although he is the way he is also a very conventional person, and he's made it a home before he married me. And in fact, everybody marvels at how beautiful my drawing room is. He did it all up, you know. It was his instructions to do it this way and that way, and it's a beautiful room and very conventional. Well, classical, I would say. I adore this house. I love it. I think it's so... how do you say in English? Undaunting, beautiful but friendly.
Lady Bath had married into 450 years of family history. During the 1960s and 70s, her husband developed a famously bohemian reputation.
Well, I suppose my bohemian lifestyle it followed on from being an art student. That was my lifestyle, and so it was much more comfortable doing it in your own home premises than elsewhere. And it's nice to have a place to throw a bash sometimes, and people tended to remember them. I would usually find at the end of the day, you know, it was under the hedges, they'd found their places to sleep in the garden, in the, tucked away in nooks and crannies. So comfort wasn't at a premium, no.
But soon the grounds of Longleat would become a dangerous place, and there's not much peace and love around with 50 lions on the loose. This was the very first safari park to open in Britain, and later in the series we'll see why the local population was absolutely terrified.
It's now been over a week since 2 of the meerkats died of a mysterious illness. Post-mortem samples were sent to a specialist lab for analysis, and now vet Duncan Williams has returned once more. At last, Darren Beasley's going to find out the cause of death.
We've got results back, Darren.
Brilliant.
And as suspected, the histology report basically says it's a bacterial infection or possibly a viral infection. It can't be that specific, but it's a generalised septicemia that's killed them. If you get one showing symptoms like that again, let me know straight away, because we'll have to inject it, because, you know, the antibiotics in the food won't work.
Sure, yeah, because the first sign we have is them stopping eating. Yeah, OK.
But let me know and I'll come straight out, and we'll try and save it that way rather than wait till it sort of collapses, really.
OK. Thanks, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah. How are they doing anyway there?
They're fine, yeah, they seem to be really good.
But they were fine before, weren't they? That's the trouble.
It's this speed of this thing, you know.
Although the exact source of the infection may never be known, it's important to have as much information as possible.
The results basically came back that there was endocarditis, like a little infection of the heart and all the organs of the body, which means that there was a generalised bacterial infection. The pathologist wasn't definite on that, but it's probably bacterial, but possibly viral. Bacteria are much bigger, and they can be treated with antibiotics. Viruses are tiny little things that can cause major problems, and we hope really now that we've knocked it on the head. We'll just have to wait and see, I think.
So there's always the chance that the infection may return to affect another of the meerkats. But at least Darren can now stop worrying that it's something toxic in the enclosure.
Having a joke with the chaps down here, they've worked so hard building Meerkat Mountain up again, adding new plants and soil and that, and we did think that we might have to take it all away again if that had brought in some dreaded lurgy, but who knows. I think it's okay, and so we'll just watch and monitor the meerkats' behaviour. I can hear them scuffling around in here now, so they're coming for attention. So I think they're okay, and it's part of being a keeper, isn't it? You've got to monitor your animals and look after them the best you can, and if you can avoid illness, we sure as heck will, you know.
For the ostriches, last year was a time to remember. Trevor and Honey met, fell in love and had their first baby, little Owl. This year, when Honey started to lay eggs, Ben joined the keepers to help build them a new nest, called a scrape. The hope was that this would encourage the ostriches to concentrate on the business of producing more chicks.
Kate and I are up in the East Africa Reserve with Head of Section Andy Hayton, and we've come to catch up with Honey and her new scrape. Andy, I think it's fair to say it's been a success.
Yeah, we put the eggs, the half a dozen eggs underneath her. She's laid about half a dozen more, and she's started sitting now, so really good.
Excellent.
And what about Trevor? Is he just sort of wandering around being territorial, or does he play any part in the incubation?
Oh no, he's a great father. He'll do the night shifts. Honey will sit on them all day. Trev will do the night time. And it's a kind of an instinctive thing because obviously in the wild there'd probably be more danger from predators at night, so sit the big guy on them at night time.
And what's the sort of time scale for an egg to actually hatch? What's the incubation?
It's about 40 to 45 days.
Right.
So it was about 42 days last year when we hatched one out. So.
Right. So and you're pretty confident that you'll have one this year?
Hopefully. I mean, we had one last year, so hopefully we'll do it again.
And do you think that because they had a success last year, you know, they've sort of got a bit of practice, that the possibility for success this year is pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, they did so well. It was the first time they did it last year, and instinctively they just got on and did the job. And she's, you know, carbon copy this year. She's doing exactly the same things as she did last year.
Well,
so.
She certainly looks like a very devoted mum, doesn't she?
Very contented as well.
Indeed. Well, we'll keep you posted, obviously, with Honey's progress, but sadly that's all we've got time for today. Here's what's coming up on the next Animal Park.
Just how much monkey business will the buffaloes put up with?
We're adding spice to the life of the tigers, but do they really like curry?
And Lindy the sea lion has a sore mouth, but it's dangerous for the vet to get too close.
That's all to come next time on Animal Park.